Here is what has been working for me and what I plan to do more of this year, plus a few things I am intentionally going to let go of in 2025. Welcome to the Soulful Sales Show, where we talk about believing in the value of your offers, getting them in front of your right people, and selling more of what you do in your unique way. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Sales Show. And we are still firmly in the New Year vibes with this episode. So last week I talked about selling ins and outs for 2025. And they were mostly to do with attitude, mindset, how we approach selling in general. And today's episode is about what I am personally going to be doing, or what I'm planning to do more and less of, to sell my offers in 2025. So it's going to be a little bit more practical strategy stuff. So let's start with what I am planning to do less of in 2025. Number one, this one came to me very, very easily: less social media. And I should just add, by the way, this goes for everything I'm sharing in this episode. Just because I am doing more or less of certain things doesn't necessarily mean that's the right choice for you. But 100% for me, less social media is the right choice. So at the end of 2024, I decided to quit Instagram for a bit. I had basically spent the entire year worrying about my Instagram, thinking about it more than I actually did anything with it. And when I made that decision to intentionally quit Instagram for a bit, I did not miss it one bit. I still went on the app sometimes to catch up with a few people's stories, although most people I have muted or unfollowed a lot of people just to protect my energy and stop me doom scrolling. But yeah, I did not miss it whatsoever. So that is firmly in the less column for 2025 for me. I do not need social media. With the way my business is set up, I don't actually need it. I do most of my selling via email. I am keeping my Facebook group though, because for me, it's a totally different energy than Instagram. It's a client and student only Facebook group, so everyone already has that connection to me. It's not a place where I'm actually actively trying to grow. I grow by people buying my offers and being invited to join after they buy my offers. So it's not the same as having to pander to the algorithm to try and grow through my posts. Now, obviously, there is an algorithm in Facebook groups. Like, I'm not ignoring that fact, but it just feels so different to me. It's a totally different vibe, totally different energy. I'm keeping my Facebook group, but I will not be showing up on Instagram. Obviously, my decisions may change throughout the year, but as it stands now, I feel very, very happy about that decision. Okay, number two for the less column is less minimum effort selling. So as you know, I am all for laid-back launching, and that actually, spoiler alert, is in my more column still. But what I mean by minimum effort selling is just really coasting and like really doing the bare minimum, not even, asking myself where I can elevate certain things, just totally rinse and repeating. Now, I did a lot of rinse and repeating in 2024 because of my mental health, and I won't apologize for that or feel bad for that. It is what I needed. It brought in the money that I needed when I couldn't actively work as much as I wanted. So if there is a need for it like that, I'm all for minimum effort selling. But generally, in 2025, I do want to put more effort into it. I actually want to be a bit more creative. I actually want to have fun. I want to experiment. So yeah, less minimum effort selling. Number three in the less column is less following trends. Now, I don't know if this is a controversial take. I don't know. But I don't think I want to build a business that is based on following trends. I know this works for some people, and I always see people saying, you know what, I've just gone on TikTok and I've grown by thousands and thousands and thousands. And yes, that stuff appeals to me on a certain level, but it totally does not appeal to me on a deeper level. I do not want to be subject to an algorithm changing. I don't want to be constantly having to learn something new and go to the next thing. Having said that, I do like experimenting. So I do like trying new things, but I don't want to do it in a way that I feel like I have to constantly keep up and I'm always behind. So, this was just a kind of gut feeling thing that I wrote on my list. I don't even have an example of where I have been following trends in the last year, but I just know that it's something I want to intentionally not do, if that makes sense. So I am willing to experiment, but I'm not just going to do something because everyone else is doing it and get distracted from what actually really works for my business. The final thing in my less column is teaching too many things at once. Now, this is something I feel I have massively improved at over the last 2 years. So I don't know if I've actually shared this before, but one of my biggest challenges, especially because over the last 2-3 years, I have made a huge shift in my business. At first, I was doing a lot more one-to-one work or one-to small group work, higher ticket coaching, masterminds, stuff basically. And then over the last couple of years, I've made a huge shift. In fact, my business model has completely flipped on its head, where the majority of my work is now one-to-many and it's a lot lower ticket. So I think with that shift had to come a change in my thinking about how I'm delivering offers, because when you do work with people on a more hands-on way, you can go deeper into lots of different things. You can, when you're working with the client for 6 months or a year, you are going to cover a lot over that time. But that hasn't really translated well to my courses and programs. I get overwhelmed creating one-to-many courses and programs that teach too many things at once, and I find them a lot harder to sell. The evidence shows me, and the way I feel about how confident about what I'm teaching shows me that teaching very self-contained and boundaried offers one at a time is the way forward. Now, I guess the exception to this would be my Soulful Sales Society membership, but I still am quite boundaried around what I include in it. But it is a bit more broad because it is a membership and I do like adding things to it. But yeah, generally teaching too many things at once, I want to do much less of. I want to be way more intentional about being really boundaried about the promise of my offers, about what they do and don't teach. And I know that sounds really obvious, but the way my brain works is I don't just want to include the thing. I want to include the thing that leads to the thing, or the thing that could come up when you're doing the thing, or the thing that's related to the thing. And I know that a lot of people who are in my world have a similar way of thinking to me. I have to be very intentional about deliberately leaving stuff out. I deliberately leave stuff out in the name of creating something that is more concise, that is easier for me to teach, that is easier for people to follow and get results from. So yeah, less teaching too many things at once, more being intentional about the boundaries of my offers, which makes the messaging and everything else so much easier as a result. So what am I planning to do more of in 2025? So I actually touched on this in my episode last week, but I want more real-time connection with my audience. Like I said, 2024 was a tough year. I relied a lot on Laidback launching. Sometimes I relied on minimum effort selling, as I just said. But towards the end of the year, I did several masterclasses. And throughout the year, I also did a couple of challenges. And nothing beats the energy and the way that you connect with your audience. So I am definitely planning to do more webinars in 2025. The reason I want to do more webinars, which actually, by the way, I call masterclasses, I have a course called Masterclass Magic, which I'll link to in the show notes, which teaches the whole strategy from the perspective of someone who never thought they would do a webinar because, ew, icky, and now does them in my own way, in a soulful way. And I really trust actually every time I do a masterclass that I'm really teaching something. It's not just one drawn out sales pitch. But again, in the spirit of what I just shared, I am boundaried about what I teach, and I do try to teach less versus more in my masterclasses now, and it really, really works. Anyway, I totally went on a tangent there, but yes, especially I'm trying to do more masterclasses this year because I find that they're a great way to connect with people that is more doable for my energy than doing, for example, a free challenge. I would probably find it hard to sustain the energy of a free 5-day challenge in the way that I used to do it a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, I used to show up, do a challenge where I would be live every day for an hour every day for 5 days, maybe 7 days. I don't know that I have the capacity to do a challenge in that way anymore, but I also don't believe I need to do it exactly in that way. So I probably will do a challenge, but it will probably be just 2 lives, and then the rest would be text-based, and the lives might just be Q&As. And I find Q&As very, very easy to just show up for and deliver in the moment. So definitely want more of that in 2025. And like I said, I have a course called Masterclass Magic. I have another course called Grow with Challenges that teach both of these strategies. And I am going to link to those in the show notes. I am also in 2025 planning to do more summits. And this is a really big deal to me. The reason why it's such a big deal is I know that summits are amazing for establishing your expertise, for connecting with your peers, the speakers for your summit, for building those relationships and growing your audience. There is nothing like running a summit for establishing yourself as a voice in your niche. There is just nothing like a summit that leads to all of that growth plus the direct income. I have known that because I have run 3 summits now. The problem with a summit is it's a huge project to take on. It is a huge project to take on. It tests my mindset and feelings about the value of what I do, unlike anything else. It's a lot to deal with, practically speaking, feelings-wise, all of this stuff. So I knew I potentially wanted to add another summit in, but I had to show myself first that I could handle it without burning out. Because when I ran my second summit in 2023, I was very burnt out after the summit was over. So much so that I didn't even know if I was going to run it again. Fast forward to the repeat of that summit in 2024, and it was a completely different experience. I had a lot more support from the Summit in a Box Accelerator, which I will link to in the show notes. I didn't make loads more money with the summit. I didn't grow the summit loads in terms of audience, but what I did do was put on an event that made a really decent amount of money. I can't remember how much it made, probably about 20,000, which is not that big in the world of summits, but you've got to bear in mind that a business to business summit about soulful selling that's happening in September is a very oversaturated time and topic. So I was really happy with the results. I didn't grow it loads based on 2023, but I did it with much more ease. It was so much less stressful. I did not feel burned out afterwards. In fact, I felt energized and excited about my business afterwards, which was a new experience. So this year I've decided to add an extra summit. It's going to be the Mess of Success Summit in March, and we'll see how it goes adding in another summit. Am I totally confident? No, I am nervous about it because it is a big undertaking, but I'm also expanding. I'm always expanding the timeline, giving myself extra time based on my learnings from previous summits. And I'm really excited to do another summit because, like I said, there is nothing like running a summit for what it will do for your business. And in and of itself, it is a profitable event, but it also leads to new people, new connections, new sales down the line as well. So that is my second thing that I'm going to do more of in 2025, more summits. And just as a side note here, I am going to continue to do bundles in 2025 as well. I need to be kind of discerning because some bundles really have not led to results for me, and some bundles have. I do find I get overwhelmed if I commit to too many summits and bundles. So I'm just going to be discerning about which of the other people's summits and bundles I'm going to be part of. But that is something I am going to continue to do in 2025 to grow my audience as well, just as a side note. Okay, so point number 3, the third thing I'm going to do more of in 2025. I mean, this is slightly a repeat of what I said I was going to do less of, but I'm going to have more specific offers that help people to actually get it done. So I already touched on the specificity part of that, not teaching too many things at once, but what I will expand on here is helping people actually get it done. So running Get It Done weeks and challenges inside my membership or as standalone offers has worked very, very well for me in 2024. I know that people are overwhelmed. I know that people are bombarded with information, especially in the age of AI. We can get all the information we want. I mean, sometimes it's not quite accurate, but it's there at our fingertips. What you can't replicate with AI is the motivation and inspiration of actually supporting people to get something done. So in my membership, the Soulful Sales Society, I have been incentivizing people to get various sales tasks done by giving prizes, by giving credit to spend with me on different offers, by giving coaching with me, by promoting their offers. It works like nothing else. So I will absolutely be doing more of that in 2025. I have had an idea for several months now for a new challenge I want to run, probably just a really low cost bootcamp style one for a week. for $10 about visibility. So watch this space. I don't have a date or anything. It is not fully formed yet, but I'm hoping to add a new one in, as well as repeating my strategic freebie bootcamp where we create our freebie in the space of a week. And I promote that freebie to my audience. That one is so popular and people get great results with it. Like they actually just do it without the stress. I mean, can you relate to having an idea for a freebie or wanting to do a freebie and just not doing it for potentially even years on end? Because I know I've been there. You would not believe the number of people who come to my challenge and say that that's how they've been feeling, and then they just knock it out within a week and it's done and it's there and it's getting subscribers for them and it's growing their audience. So yeah, I am a huge fan of the challenges and the get it done weeks. And these are paid things or part of memberships, by the way. Actually, they're kind of similar to the free challenges. They're just really, really specifically practical with an incentive to get it done. So definitely going to do more of those in 2025. And then finally, I am going to be doing more Laidback launching in 2025. I think I talked about this in the last episode, but basically Laidback launching has been working very, very well for me, especially in the times when I have barely been showing up because of mental health or fatigue or whatever. Laidback launching has been working, so I will continue to do more of that in 2025. So just because, yes, I do want to make a bit more effort to have the connection through webinars and stuff, does not mean I am letting go of my Laidback launching strategy. I am absolutely not letting go of it. I am doing more of it and being more organized about it. So as we start the year, I kind of have a list of the next few Laidback launches that I want to run. That's how I kind of want to feel about it throughout the year. Like I always want to know the next few that I could do. The great thing about Laidback launches, and what I mean by a Laidback launch, by the way, is no bells and whistles, no live elements to it. It's basically just pre-scheduled emails to sell my stuff. And the pre-scheduling is a really important part of it because that's what helps you detach and feel laid back. But yeah, the great thing about these Laidback launches is I don't have to have them specifically planned in for a set date. They are very easy and quick to put together. So I know the next few that I'm going to do and I can fit them in between other stuff if I need to. And that includes repurposing content, by the way. I am within this category of Laidback launching. I also want to be more intentional about tracking the content that I create, about, updating my Airtable so that I have links to all the emails I've sent so that it's super easy to dive into my Airtable, find the emails that I sent for a previous launch, open them up, repurpose them. I want to tweak. I want to improve them. That's the great thing about repurposing, is that your energy is no longer on creating content in the first place. Your energy can go on making it even better, making it convert better, getting higher open rate with the subject line, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to commit to reusing and improving and tweaking and learning as I go. Doing more Laidback launches, doing the launches more often because they're so laid back, it enables me to do it more often, has taught me so much about what works and what doesn't with my audience when I send emails and stuff. So for example, I've learned that really short emails work really well for my audience. This is the kind of stuff that you get to test for yourself. And yeah, the Laidback launching is a great vehicle that allows you to do that. So that is my less and more list of 2025. I'm not really reinventing the wheel. I'm not doing things super differently. I would say that the main shift from 2024 to 2025 is that I'm being a little bit more intentional about putting myself out there a bit more with webinars. I am adding that extra summit, so that's enough. And I'm just being intentional about letting go of what's not working for me, which for me is Instagram. Just letting go of it more intentionally rather than it taking up space in my brain and feeling bad about not doing it. And I'll put links in the show notes to all of the stuff I've mentioned because I teach loads of this stuff in my offers. Like I have a whole course on Laidback launching, or you can join the Soulful Sales Society membership and get the course included there. I have the Grow with Challenges course, I have the Masterclass Magic course, I have the Strategic Freebie Bootcamp if you want to see how I do one of my paid challenges. And yeah, I'm excited. I feel like I'm on a roll with the way that I've been launching and I'm ready to elevate it in 2025 basically, but still with the fallback of not having to show up if my mental health and my energy doesn't allow for that, because that is a very real possibility and I have to be realistic about that as well. All right, so I hope you found that helpful. Like I said earlier on, just because this is my plan doesn't mean it has to be your plan. But yeah, hopefully you've got some helpful ideas from what I've shared in this episode. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soulful Sales. If you have a moment to rate and review, know that it really does make a difference. And if you'd like to carry on the conversation, then you can connect with me on Instagram at Ruth Poundwhite, sign up to my newsletter at ruthpoundwhite.com/newsletter, or my personal favorite, join me inside the low ticket membership at ruthpoundwhite.com/membership. And keep doing what you're doing because your work really does matter.